Welcome to our webinar today about political marketing in 2026. My name is Jennifer Goetz, and I'm the Chief Growth Officer for Compass Marketing and Advertising Partners here in Topeka, Kansas. Some of my background is in political marketing, or kind of a lot is in political marketing. So this is a subject that I'm really excited about covering with you today. That being said, you will hear me talk about some systems that are maybe a little more specific to one party over another, but this is a bipartisan conversation. I'm just letting you know, based on our conversation, this is just a system that I've worked with in the past. It is not an endorsement of one party or another. Within our conversation today, we are going to be talking about reaching the right voters at the right time with the right message. So everything from traditional to digital tactics, which are really becoming traditional anymore these days, and some cost savings and where some of your people might be so that you can start working on some of your budgeting as you are pushing into, in this case, the general election. The primary will be in August and then the general in November, but it'll just help you kind of start to figure out what some of those budgets might look like. So hang in there with me, and I think we're going to have a great conversation today. Um, and I do apologize if you see me looking down. I am just dinosaur enough that I still have a little bit of paper with me. So helps me keep track of my notes. So anyway, okay. So the reality of the modern campaign. The challenge isn't necessarily reaching voters. It's really about reaching the voters often enough to matter. Voters are getting hit like crazy, whether it's like we've got listed here, social media, text messages, direct mail, emails, television, friends and family, news media, and even attending a candidate event, which especially on those candidate events, I would encourage you to do. You will often see that it says you need to RSVP with a $50 donation to attend something. As much as that is true, there's also a certain amount of go ask questions, get to know that candidate. Um, but the big thing that we have to realize is that in marketing of years past, they used to always say the adage was 7 touches. So if they saw, interacted with your stuff 7 times, or it was they received it 7 times, that was a really good bellwether for you know, confirming that that person was going to do the thing. Now you're at 30 to 40 touches, which is why when you get towards a primary or you get towards a general and you are just a regular citizen curious about a candidate, you start to get to a place of going, why will they not leave me alone? Which is fair. But that's because they're trying to really hit that metric to get you to either donate or go to the polls. So, but within that conversation, like I said, the challenge isn't necessarily reaching the voter. That's happened. It's reaching you in the right channel with that correct message. So that being said, we've got some traditional tactics, direct mail, TV and radio, and door knocking, which candidates, you may not like to hear this, but you gotta do it. But you also want to make sure that those are highly valuable doors that you're on. So, but let's backtrack a little bit. So direct mail. This means that you are going to get something from the United States Postal Service, and it usually is those giant mailers on glossy stock. Everything's super pretty. The great thing about mailers, highly targetable. It's good money says I'm going to put a mailer in the right mailbox because of the data that I've gathered and that I have really good lists for. This is great for older voters. Younger voters tend to kind of be like, what is this? Why do I even have this? But it does give you that physical presence of something that you can hold. However, mail is expensive. We have all experienced the fact that mail has gotten slower. So it's one of those things that you really need to be mindful about your timing on. TV and radio. That's great. You can put your message on blast to a lot of people. But I might actually encourage you to consider a streaming option because, maybe your person listens to country music 5% of the time, but on streaming radio, they love Masterpiece Theater. that might be the place to really get to them. That might be the age, the gender, the ethnicity, the socioeconomic status that you're hanging in there for. So those are types of things to consider. But like I said, TV and radio, that's a mass audience. That's awesome, but it can be expensive. And it's hard to measure if you got the right people. And then last but not least is that door knocking. Get those steps in, friend, and track it on your watch if you need that validation, because it is extremely personal. It does give that individual the chance to talk to you face to face. It's very high impact, and it's something that can be done with a lot of volunteers. Maybe your people can't necessarily donate to you, but they can walk for you, they can volunteer for you. So don't hesitate to make that part of your plan as well. But it can be very labor intensive, limited scale. The reason we talk about limited scale is like when I've done door knocking, I actually did it a couple weekends ago. I was given 50 doors, and that ended up taking me about 4 hours, and it was largely just a lit drop. So that means I just was sticking that door, that palm card underneath a door handle or a doormat, something like that. I wasn't even necessarily talking to a whole truck ton of people. So that's something to keep in mind, but it is still important with all three of these that you do them. You just need to be mindful about your budget and when you do them and who is going to see it. So digital tactics, social media, email, messaging, digital display, and video. These are wonderful tactics, but again, much like traditional tactics, they do have some pros and cons. So for social media, the pros, it's very targeted, flexible budgets. Guys, you can do stuff for $50 on Facebook. If you are stretched thin on your budget at that moment, that'll still get you a little something, and you can see through your targeting on Facebook that you're drilling down to the right person for your campaign. Text messaging. I'm going to have a quick personal moment when it comes to text messaging. For the love of all that is holy, please stop sending dissertations in text messages. Short, sweet, to the point, and talk to the person that you're really trying to talk to. If you need to talk to a mid-40s female in the Midwest, think about your message when you're trying to talk to a me. If you're trying to talk to an African American person in a more urban environment, that's a different message. So always be really mindful of how those types of things are going out. The other great things about text messaging, I mean, gosh, to be super fair, the open rates are really high. It's immediate. And it's really great for turning people out. Turning people out means getting them to actually either donate or go to the polls. Like I said, cons, I got on my soapbox for a minute. It can be annoying if it's overused, and there are compliance rules associated with did someone opt in? Don't just start sending text messages to a list of people that have never opted into that before. You may also, with text messaging, catch that you have gotten a text from a candidate in another state that you have no necessarily really, you don't have a major relationship to. Text lists do get sold. So that is something that if you've like, I've gotten some from Mark Kelly, and I was like, well, do your thing, Mark, but I'm not sure that I'm going to donate, but you still wish them well on their journey kind of thing. So, um, let's see. We also have email. This is one that is, we reference it as being nearly free. In a lot of ways, it can be. But you also have to be careful that if it's a free service, you're probably going to be blacklisted and sent to spam a lot faster than you might be with a paid service. And it also means that you have got to have a really good list. You want to make sure that you're talking to your people. Once again, lists are available for purchase. And if you get a really good data house, I like to use L2. If you get a really good data house, they know how to drill down and really get you your people. Digital display and video, that's something that we certainly do here at Compass. We do all of these. But this is one that we are really big champions of, because this is something that while it can have a broad reach, it's also got really great hyper targeting associated with it. And then if someone can see you and hear you as a candidate, it is that much faster for them to want to engage with you and learn about who you are and speed up that donation and that voter process. It can be a little less persuasive than a door knocking conversation can be or a forum can be, but it's still a really great way to not only get your face in front of people, but then because of the other things that are associated with digital displays, then somebody like a me can then help follow that audience member, that voter, that donor around. Once they go home, I can now start serving them ads, on their television through their connected devices and whatnot. So it's another really good way to follow people, like I said, but it does require a budget. So, um, all right. So this is one that I think is very, very, very important to discuss. This is when we're going to talk about what it takes to budget for a campaign like this. Um, all of these items, I want to assure you, should be part of your campaign, could be part of your campaign. Um, they don't all have to happen at once. And these types of things can also um, flex as to when you might use them. For instance, with text messaging, it's pretty cheap in reality. Um, but it's one of those things that we don't necessarily have to do it all the time. Maybe you door knock in a neighborhood and then within 24 hours a text goes out or a digital ad goes out. Maybe a really big issue has come up in one of the neighborhoods or the districts or the state that you're working with. That's something that, maybe you put a boost on social media or you do a targeted ad to get people to relate to that conversation. Maybe it's something that you specifically know about, like I said, that area. Maybe they've been having an issue with water. Maybe they've been having an issue with natural gas, and those are just examples. But if those are an issue that affects a group of people that you need to be talking to, that's when that tactic might come into play. Um, Direct mail is something, like I said, you do need to do it, but be really strategic about when you do it. I saw a race a number of years ago where someone was sending mailers like crazy, and that's awesome that that individual had the budget to do that. But I knew of people that were getting those mailers that weren't in the district. That's a wasted dollar. You are really taking um, your tiered voters. So you have tier one through tier five. Tier one is somebody that always shows up. Tier five is somebody that, oh, they're really hit or miss if they go at all. And so you're taking those tiers of voters and you're saying, okay, how much does it cost for me to get that voter to go? A tier one voter shouldn't be a very expensive voter. You still have to talk to them. A tier four voter is going to be more expensive to get them to do the thing. You still have to talk to them. So it's working on that matrix of cost and turnout that you are always doing. So it can be a little exhausting, but a good marketing person and a good finance person can help you get your message out to the world. So okay, so we talked about this a little bit earlier. Rules of repetition. How many times do you need to actually interact with a voter or a donor? So, like I said, one touch is rarely enough. It might be okay for your tier one voter, but you also don't want to be a turnoff because you never talked to them because you just assumed that they would go. So this is everything from, I know I talked about it used to be 7 touches, now it's 30 to 40. If they see a Facebook ad, then they get a postcard from you, a text message. Then it's about the time that yard signs are going out. There's rules and regs on those, by the way, about when you can put those out. Then they start interacting with your campaign. Now you've got them on a list and you can send them emails, you can send them more texts. You are constantly trying to reinforce who you are and what your message is. And it's really critical that even when you have to pivot your message, maybe you learn something and you need to make a change, um, you're still reinforcing it as someone that's trustworthy and reliable. Also, consistency matters more than volume. Who you said you are and what you said you're going to do needs to be very consistent. You can hit people with a flamethrower and still be saying nothing. So, okay, voter universe strategy. Excuse me. A word can get tricky sometimes. Okay, the numbers that I have on here are flexible. They are very, very flexible. This is for the sake of conversation only, because there are going to be counties, there are going to be districts, there are going to be states that you'll see lean Democrat or lean Republican. There's some that you're going to see are going to be kind of down the middle. That's that persuadable conversation. That's actually a really anymore a really wide swath of people. Um, so your base voters might actually be closer to 70 or 80%, depending on where it is that you're running. So this 40 is just a ballpark for the conversation. But you generally have three core audiences that you're after. You have your base voters, your persuadable voters, and then your opposition. Um, Again, opposition, it's not that you don't want to talk to your opposing voter or your opposing donor. You can get them to convert. They are going to cost more, rather than your base voter who is very likely going to cost less. They are going to turn out, they're going to vote for you, they're going to donate. Your persuadable voters, they are they are one that you're going to have to put the extra effort into. You're going to have to put the extra money into. Um, but when you've got a really good list and you've really combed through, what those people's tendencies are to vote and donate, but also where do they live? How do they like their coffee? Where do they shop? You're looking at not only, their tendency to vote and donate, you are looking at their behaviors. What do they like? What do they do? Where do they work? Um, Something that was actually a success out of the current administration, where everybody was kind of like, current presidential administration, everybody was like, why on earth is he going on the Joe Rogan show? That's because they done their research and they knew that the voter and the donor they wanted watches and listens to that podcast. So you'll notice that afterwards, a bunch of people decided they needed to be on podcasts. That's great to an extent if that's where your voter and donor lives. I have also had experience where I've worked with candidates that somebody said, well, your person should be on TikTok. Well, maybe. Maybe my person should be on TikTok. But is that where my voter and my donor actually live? And that was where, in this particular case, I declined actually putting my candidate onto TikTok because the voter and the donor that I needed to target, they hadn't turned 18 yet. So it's not that I didn't want to have a conversation with them. We did still have conversations with them, but we put that more in an Instagram vein than a TikTok vein because those people were still 4 years away. And at 14, I'm not as likely to get them to convert at 18 unless I have that conversation closer to that birth date. So um, anyway, so that the voter universe strategy is magical. It's so for me anyway, it's interesting. It's where do those people live and how do you get them to do the thing that you want them to do? We are in Kansas. So if you happen to be out of state and watching this, we still have a very heavy contingency of people that live on Facebook. We can't have a candidate not on Facebook. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be exploring other channels to make sure that we're getting people that we might want to have talk to us. So, all right, next slide. I've talked enough. All right, so section 4, one candidate, multiple messages. This is a little bit of what I was talking about before, but we're going to drill in just a little bit deeper. So maybe you have a voter that's worried about the economy, you have parents, you have seniors, you have young voters. Um, like I said, with those young voters, you do need to start talking to them at 17 and 18 years old. In some respects, a little bit, earlier even than that, because you do want them to be somebody that becomes a part of the process as a lifelong voter. Um, but that being said, you can't necessarily put the same message on blast to everybody at the same time. A voter that's worried about the economy, you're going to want to start talking about things like lowering costs and creating jobs. So, what are the things that that voter is worried about? Parents, you're investing in strong schools. Or are you are you wanting to invest in private schools? Whatever your message happens to be, you need to be making sure that you're tailoring it for the audience that you're trying to get to do something for you. Seniors, retirement security, and then obviously with the youth vote, you are creating opportunities and maybe you're talking about affordability. So the big thing that I would also say within there is we've got the adage of you need to say your name at least 3 times, and you always need to close out with you can learn more about me at candidate name for whatever state or district you're in, reminding them where they can go self-educate about you. But you want to make sure that those things are happening as often as you can, but also who are you? Why are you running? What problem are you solving for them? That's what that previous slide was all about. Why should they trust you? And then the call to action. Please don't forget to let voters know what you need them to do. Seeing your face is wonderful, but you have to give them an action item. Everything from please donate to sign up to volunteer to do you want a yard sign. There's so much more that you can do with that, but those are some of the basics. So, but in keeping with that conversation, emotion drives action. Um, People will vote out of hope, fear, pride, belonging, frustration, trust. There's lots of reasons for why that they will vote. But they are going to do that out of emotion, and then your job is to take the emotion and support that with facts and interesting things about you. Effective messaging leads with emotion. You might find yourself as just a day-to-day citizen a little bit exhausted by some of the political messaging that you receive. Well, that's because it is intended to elicit a feeling. It is a lot harder to start with a fact and then try and get an emotion out of it. It's smarter to start with a feeling. Um, okay, so campaign timelines. Start budgeting immediately. Good gracious. When you decide that you are going to run for something, that budget is a huge thing, and it's going to flex and change as donations roll in for you. But early in a campaign, you're going to introduce your candidate, build awareness about platform issues, collect supporters, collect advocates, people that will go out and talk for you, whether it's in public or online, people that will make phone calls. Mid-campaign, you are continuing to educate voters. You are building a lot of credibility. This is an important conversation that you've got to consider on how you react to really, really high highs and adversity. How you respond to those things is absolutely critical. And mid-campaign, you're expanding your reach, whether it's to your district or your state. And then in the last 30 days, you are driving turnout, getting people to go, reinforcing your messaging, and providing voter information. So I do always say within the final 30 days, like for instance, if your primary is in August, like it is here in Kansas, mail-in voting starts in mid-July. So one of the things that I tell candidates is it's a little like a wedding day. Um, Once mail-in voting has started, the wedding is on kind of thing. And you are going to need to then lean into getting people to show up for that primary, getting people to show up for the general. But in large part, the voter has made their decision. because once those mail-in ballots start to show up, you're already going to start to get a little bit of an idea of where people's heads are at. So, like I said, early in the campaign, direct mail, social media, list building. Oh my goodness, get your lists, get your lists. Know who they are, know when you're going to be sending them things, know how you're going to send them things. Mid-campaign, great for starting that TV and radio conversation, digital advertising, event outreach, fundraisers, that all needs to be going on mid-campaign. And in the final 30 days, you have probably noticed you will start to get an unholy amount of text messages, phone calls, digital ads, reminders, and you will probably see small armies of people doing door knocking, and or what's also sometimes referred to as field work. You want those people in the field talking you up, getting on those doors. So, all right. So we're going to start to close things out here. Five political marketing mistakes, and then we'll kind of reinforce those with, what's really, things that you should have as key takeaways. But the big thing is start with number one here, trying to talk to everyone, focus on your base and your persuadable voters. Your opposition, they probably just may not like you right from the start based on the letter that's next to your name. Be careful about starting too late. Um, uh, this is a kind of a big one. I have seen a lot of folks that will um, they'll try to start digital advertising perhaps 30 days out from a primary or a general. And at that point, unfortunately, a lot of times a voter has made up their mind. So you may be very late on that front. Start those things early, uh, have them go and then phase out, and then put in a new ad, phase it out. It's all about layers of doing those things. So maybe an ad drops off, and then you start filling in with text messages about a new issue. And then here comes the next ad, and then the mailer lands. It's all kinds of things along those lines. Um, Number three, ignoring voter data. Don't do it, guys. Pay for a list, get good data, talk to your county party chair, talk to your party chair, um, call those people. It's what they're there for. It's what they want to do. They want to help you have successful information so that you are turning people out, and in turn they get information as well that helps reinforce who they're talking to and how they're supporting you as well. Only using one channel. This is very, very, very common. And it's very, very important that you become an omni-channel or multi-channel candidate. Um, if you're only using Facebook, it'd it'd better be because that's only where your people live. You're trying to inspire next generations to do things, so you need to be able to reach those people where they're at. Another thing to consider is maybe this is a demographic or a population that really only uses their phone. They're not on a laptop or using Zoom like we are today. So you need to make sure that you are paying attention to, like I said, where does that donor and that voter live, and are you talking to them there? And then last but not least, your turnout plan or your GOTV strategy, which is get out the vote. For anybody that occasionally thinks that's a TV channel, it's a turnout plan. So what are you going to do in order to inspire people that one last time? That's why campaigning is a lot of fun, but it is a grind because you have to push and put your blinders on and then push some more. So, and then last but not least, some key takeaways for you. Like I said, reaching the right people, but not necessarily everyone. They will see your stuff, but if they're not going to vote for you, be mindful about where you're focusing your dollar. Matching your messaging to your audience. Like I said, the way you would talk to me versus the way you might talk to a 65-year-old Hispanic person, it's not the same. The values are different, the lived experiences are different. You have to be very mindful about that as you go forward. Like I said, using multiple communication channels, get that texting going, get those emails out there, make sure it's supported by what you have on Facebook. And then, if you're in the press, is that all supported there too? That consistency is key. It leads to trustworthiness and reliability. Start early, go often, and increase your frequency of what you're doing as an election day approaches, whether it is the primary or the general. That is something that's going to be really, really critical for people to see that you are, like I said, pushing through and participating in the grind. And then last but not least, a clever slogan is great. I would encourage it, but inspiring people to go is really what you're here for. So turnout is going to win more than a clever slogan ever will. So make sure you're focusing there and just keep going. You're going to get there. So all right, friends, thank you so much for your time today. Please feel free to hit me with any questions that you've got at jennifer@weareyourcompass.com, and I'll be glad to get you all set up with whatever I can help with. Compass is also happy to help you with your marketing endeavors as you push through campaign season. So congratulations on running and get that turnout going. Thanks, guys.